Well, I may miss the.
Have you been in the sun?
Yes,
Where were you?
Fort Myers, Naples.
Nice.
Big out
nice.
yes. Naples is beautiful.
Ask a lot of
I've been to
questions.
It's actually better than East Coast.
Oh, I love the West Coast. Marco Island. That's where Mike.
Hey,
And Fort Myers, what?
I've been told that we are ready to roll. So I guess we'll start almost on time. Thank you for coming. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome all those in the audience and those in TV land who are watching this streaming video in the future. My name is Rob Goodman. I'm chair of the planning board. My colleagues tonight are Kevin Branch, John Gerzan, Scott Mendelson is absent tonight, Amy Schoen, Ed Teague is absent tonight, and Lenny Vaisman. Also in attendance is our Board of Trustees liaison, David Heiser, who's often last, and I miss him. So he's first now. And our village attorneys, Jennifer Gray and Pam Venya. Pam is joining our colleagues here with Jen, and so we welcome her. Our superintendent of public works is Michael Nowak. Our village planning consultant from Hardesty and Hanover is Sarah Brown. And our board secretary is always here in spirit, doing a lot of the work behind the scenes so that we all sound intelligent and are organized, is Tara Orlando. Just a reminder to silence cell phones and that all applicants need to speak through the microphone because we do catch this on streaming video, and so we want to have a record with your voices booming through the microphone so that everyone hears it. Our sessions can be found on the Village of Rybrook website. They have all of our minutes and a lot of the documents. All the documents for this session are online, as well as documents from previous sessions. Our board rules of procedure are also online, and so for professionals, I would recommend that you review our board rules. And you see, our first item, I think, are minutes of the meetings from previous sessions. Let's see. Hold on. There we go. We have minutes for October 9th, November 13th, and December 11th. Has everyone had the chance to review those minutes? And if they have, are there any comments regarding them? No? If not, can I have a motion and a second to adopt those minutes?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Branch? Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Grzan?
Yes.
Ms. Schoen?
Yes.
Mr. Vaisman?
Yes.
Chairman Goodman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our first item is 15 Lock Lane. And been a lot of activity. Why don't you give us the skinny on the project, and then we'll get into it.
Of course. Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Board. My name is Jessica Zalin. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Cuddy and Fader. I am appearing tonight on behalf of the applicants, Jonathan and Victoria Steiner. I'm joined tonight by Matthew Oscar, the project architect, Nicholas Shariah of Hudson Engineering and Consulting PC, the project engineer, Eliana Becerril of William Kenny Associates, who's the landscape architect for this project. The applicants were unable to join us this evening, but they have assured me they will be watching. So I hope we can do them proud tonight. We are here in connection with the applicants' filed application for site plan approval for their property located at 15 Lock Lane in the village of Rybrook. They are proposing an addition to their existing residence, installation of a proposed swimming pool and cabana within the rear yard, and other associated site improvements. When we were last before this board in January, we provided an initial presentation on this project, but since that time, our project engineer, architect, and landscape architect, in connection with village staff and myself, we have all been working hard to address the comments provided by this board and the staff. We'd like to present you some updates tonight. Just as a brief reminder, the property is located on the north side of Lock Lane. It's approximately 700 feet west of King Street and in the R25 one-family residential zoning district. The proposal that we're coming to you with this evening is consistent with the pattern of use and development within that zoning district. We are aware of several other residences within 500 feet of the premises that have swimming pools, that have rear decks, that have patios. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, I apologize, but I just wanted to highlight for the board that our proposal is consistent with existing conditions in the neighborhood. The property at present is developed with the existing single-family residence, the wooden deck at the rear of the residence, and a garden patio within the rear yard. It also has a paved asphalt driveway, flagstone walkways, and lawn and landscaped areas on the remainder of that property. So before I turn to the design team to walk you through the project updates in greater detail, I'll just give you a brief overview of what we've done since we were last before this board. The proposed addition to the residence itself hasn't changed. This is just a small addition to the northwestern corner of the residence that adds about 518 square feet of floor area to the living room in the rear portion of the first floor of the residence, and I believe 155 square feet of floor area to the primary bedroom on the second floor of the residence, with a roof deck extending over that first floor addition. There were also no changes made to the proposed deck that extends off of the rear of the residence. It's replacing an existing deck in that area. It's reconfigured to correspond to the new configuration of the residence. But there were some significant modifications to the remainder of the proposal. First, the proposed pool. I'm just going to switch over to a different sheet of our plan so I can give you a better sense of what we're doing here. Okay, so our proposed pool and the surrounding stone patio within the rear yard of the premises has been reoriented. So now it's horizontal to the rear of the residence. We had previously proposed in this area, kind of in between the proposed deck and the proposed pool, we had previously proposed a patio area. That's been removed. Instead, there's going to be a jacuzzi spa area within the pool itself. The proposed cabana over here has been shifted further from the area of the existing underground culvert on the property. It's also proposed to be elevated on piers. With respect to that culvert, the applicant is proposing a 20-foot drainage easement surrounding that culvert area. That would be, as a condition of approval of the project, we would coordinate with the village's attorney and get that recorded. The prior version of the project had included a decorative trellis kind of surrounding the rear of the pool area. That piece has been removed from the project. The stormwater management system has been updated and designed to capture runoff from all the impervious surfaces on the property, and we have provided an enhanced wetland buffer habitat enhancement plan, which is what I'm scrolling through right now. Again, I will have the consultants give you much more detail on these pieces. I did just want to acknowledge that we received some comments in the last few days from the village's planning consultant and the engineering consultant. We are preparing a supplemental submission that we intend to get to this board at the end of the month for consideration during the April meeting. But to the extent that you have any questions for the design team at this time, they will do their best to answer. We have started looking into all of these questions and are prepared and fully confident that we will be able to provide sufficient responses. With that, I will turn it over to Matthew to start to present the architectural changes. Or does that make sense, or should we start with? Okay.
Mine's easy.
Here you go.
Let me get into the problem.
Okay, here you are.
All right.
And you have to speak into
Love
the
the model
microphone.
so much. I
Yeah,
the microphone.
yeah, you have to use
Hey, over here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Speak into the microphone.
There we go. You love the model so much. I revise the model. Am I standing at the right distance?
I can give you the other one.
I can also point to things in the model as you
Or I'm just too close?
Can't
or-
all see it though. Pam, that's good, thank you.
Yeah, be careful about how that swings out of. Okay.
Why don't you try this?
You want, I can walk around
Yeah.
now? Okay.
Let's find out.
All right. How are we doing, Jessica?
Oh, good.
Down
You're
in the
good.
basement. All right. So the main house and its extension hasn't changed at all. There were no issues with that. It all complies with zoning as far as I am aware. I haven't had any issues with that. So none of this has changed. That was the model that I was walking around with at the last meeting. What has changed is the issues that have come up with the floodplain and the back and forth with the engineers, and I'm not the lead on that, although I'm involved in all the correspondence and I'm making suggestions in order to keep the design working with my input. So one of the things I suggested was to bring the cabana up on piers so the water could flow through it. On another project, I understood that they like the water to pass through. They have blowout panels, so in this case, water can just pass through, so it's not, that is not an issue, and it's also showing the sensitivity to these agency requirements. So it's up on piers now, and as a result of bringing the building up on piers, I had to lower the roof, so I had to change the design. I could show you what that was, but it was higher, and I have a 15-foot zoning restriction to the midpoint of the slope, so it wasn't easy, but I'm happy with this thing.
What is it now? What's the height now?
Same. It's the
the
same.
same.
In other words, it meets the limitation.
I see, okay.
But because it got higher, I had to
You had
come
right.
up with a new geometry.
So the height is the same, including the piers? The distance from-
Exactly. In
Got
other
it,
words,
okay.
the height limit has continued to be met.
Got it.
And because we had this easement that we had to deal with, the cabana was shifted back and conforms to that requirement that we stay out of this easement area. So that all complies. And I had to do stairs around it to get up to the 2 feet. And either way, that got resolved. The other thing was that the pool was perpendicular, and so it encroached more on the floodplain than now being horizontal with the house, so that the water doesn't have as much of an obstruction.
Is it still in the floodway, or is it
We're
out?
We're partially in it. I can let the engineer more, but either way, we're addressing these concerns that are being raised, and we're showing as much compliance and sensitivity to the requirements as possible in order to get the things that we also want. I think maybe the corner of the pool is now an issue, but before it was.
No, it's more
Substantial,
more
you know.
substantial. I get it.
So, in other words, and also in terms of the lot coverage and impervious surfaces, we've always continued to juggle on, take pavers here, move them over there, and we're within the zoning restrictions. And I can't think of any other, and also we have a garden that's pretty much the same as it was before, that it got approved, the different materials. The intent is almost to mimic what we had before, so there's no surprises with that.
Can you speak to the impervious surface coverage? Because
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
there was mention of using pervious pavers and other sort of, methods. I don't know whether they comply with the village code. That's a different issue.
I'm
but-
going to leave that with the engineer.
Okay.
We have a certain paver, and I know some municipalities have issues with this kind of paver. Grants you some impervious qualities or not, and so he's more up on that. What I tried to do, if I needed more area, was I have grass in between some of these pavers rather than making it all solid pavers, so I got a little bit more of a spread without as much impervious surfaces. So every time I change something, I'm back to calculations and, every couple of square feet and giving the owner as much patio space as he wanted. But the other thing I wanted to demonstrate to the board was that this is a big piece of property. And, because the easement is right in the middle of everything, that we really have this much more property in the back. So it's not as if we're being insensitive to covering too much of the property. That there's a substantial breadth of property over here that, which I asked the landscaper not. I didn't want to block this so that it has this kind of breadth into the whole property. And that's. I don't have anything else to say about this. And real issues are
Yeah.
with Michael Nowak in terms of.
Yeah, we'll get into those.
agencies
Yep.
And he's kind of
Yeah, we
Can you
can,
address
we
that?
can let Nick come and speak to the changes in the engineering design.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always you, Mike.
That's not working.
Who wants this?
Most likely your fault.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. Nicholas Shirai with Hudson Engineering. Just to speak to the impervious coverage, we are within the limits set by the zoning code. We're treating everything on the site as impervious, so our stormwater calculations and system does reflect that. We're designed for the 50-year storm, and we've been going through the comments with AI engineers, the village's consultants, and we are collecting everything. So what's existing now, what will be there, everything is going to be going to that proposed stormwater system in the front yard. I'll just go to page C1 here. So if I can direct your attention to the screen, I did kind of show, obviously the rear of the property is entirely within the floodplain, the 100 and 500 year. We've gone ahead and shown the limits of the regulatory floodway. That'll be that dashed kind of solid line here, where my cursor is, and here. So those are the limits of the regulatory floodway. I'll go to. So that's what we're proposing. So in this iteration of our plans, we're still within that regulatory floodway, but that big purple area in the middle of the rear yard reflects what the FEMA flood maps show as the base flood elevation for this property. That elevation is 136. Everything that we're proposing is above that elevation and also not affecting the compensatory flood storage that is located within that area. So our work is we're trying to avoid any loss in flood storage on the property with this work. We're limiting where our work will take place, where the pool will be. As you can see, the edge of the pool and the patio is right where that 136 is. Like I said, that purple area that's outlined here, that's an area that we do not want to affect. And so in just putting together a site plan, the grading that we have to do and the structure that we have to build, our goal is to just not affect that area. So that's where our plans reflect. We have done our analysis, and we have approximately 2,163 cubic feet of storage on the site. And just going through our calculations again, that proposed flood storage volume, once everything is done, is at 2,164, so unaffected for the most part.
Now, the flood storage, that's in the front of presumably in the front of the house, away from the wetland? Or when you talk about flood storage, what are you referring to?
So flood storage is basically based on the flood elevation that is set in the floodway, right? So different areas have different flood elevations. This one just so happens to be where we are. It's set by the FEMA maps as 136. So essentially any structure, a residence structure, an office, a cabana, whatever, needs to be at least 2 feet above that, which is why the cabana is placed on piers, which allows that structure to be 2 feet above the floodplain. Now that's what we base our flood storage off of, because in effect it's almost like you're dealing with a bowl. Each elevation represents like a layer of flood storage. So it starts at that contour that FEMA sets, that 136, and goes down from there. So everything below that 136, 135, 134, et cetera, counts as flood storage. Anything above that does not count as flood storage. That's why we can grade outside of that 136 contour, if that makes sense.
Not,
I know
well,
it's
I'm
a
not an
little-
engineer. There are engineers here.
I'm lost there.
Any-
Sure.
Where that storage is proposed to be. I think.
Yeah, so I'm highlighting it in my plan here to show that purple area. That's why it's so bright. That 136 represents that whole weirdly shaped area in the back there. That's all 136 contours. So that's where our base flood elevation starts, and that's what we're not trying to affect. So, in effect, we're not trying to take away from the flood storage in the backyard.
I don't see a contour line that shows the differentiation of your slope in the back.
It's highlight. So that whole area that's purple is 136 or lower.
So is it safe to assume that the line around the purple is your contour line?
Correct.
I'm trying to understand the increments of the change of slope.
No.
So what is that area below the purple and the green?
When you say below,
On the map, below the green area below the purple.
the green,
What's the
so
elevation there?
Right.
that's 136.6, 136.7. It's just higher than 136.
I'm sorry, we do
Yeah.
have a survey that has more
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me.
detailed topographical
Do we have the survey?
Yeah, that may
data
be-
right here. That was just not carried over. Is this the one?
No, it's
It's down here, I'm sorry. Here we go. And
does that show?
it has some spot elevations. It does not have.
That does kind of
it
show a
does
little
have
bit. It's
some
very
spots,
faint.
yeah. They're like a very light blue.
Could you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, I can zoom in on that. So, if you take a look at the backyard there, you can see 137 in the far left corner, 136 kind of in the middle. So it's kind of like a little basin in the middle of the backyard. It's the lowest spot in the property. That just so happens to be what the base flood elevation is within this area. So, again, that's where we are analyzing from. That's where we're looking at, not affecting that area, not taking away from that 136 contour to affect the flood storage that's existing on the site.
I am still not clear on the term flood storage. Is that in effect a saturated area with the wetland that you cannot absorb any more surface water at that above that elevation? Or
So, defined by FEMA, that's an area that has a chance of flooding. That's the elevation the flood will reach at. Should it flood? I forget in the event of a storm event. Yeah. So
What
that's
happens is in the event of a 100-year storm event, that area in purple is standing water.
Right.
That's where water is flowing. So it's basically a low spot, a valley,
Yeah.
if you will. So FEMA has their regulated floodways. That purple area is a regulated floodway. So as a result, our code has restrictions on what can be done within that floodway. A applicant cannot decrease capacity within there. There are certain limitations on what they can build. Hence why the cabana is raised up on stilts, because it doesn't take away flood area. Okay, instead of having a foundation, that removed area. So that's what that purple area represents. So under a major storm event, that is where you have standing ponding of floodwaters. That is not to be considered a wetland area per se, because wetlands are a different category. They're hydric soils, there's certain landscape material in there. This is just based on topography and sheet flow. That's the area that's going to flood
Right.
in purple.
And as I understand it, Mike, because you mentioned this last meeting, but it's also mentioned
Microphone, Rob.
in James's memo that if there is activity in the floodway, it cannot raise the flood levels, and it cannot be projected to raise any flood levels at all. It's like a zero room for error. So, is that correct?
That is correct. Our code and the FEMA regulations are zero increase to the floodplain. AI Engineers is reviewing those documents. Hudson Engineering had submitted it. As of right now, preliminary, it shows that there is a no net change at the
Okay.
moment. There are half dozen comments, I believe, or so that they're working on right now. Don't foresee anything substantial that should be a hurdle here right now. From speaking with our engineers, the one comment right now is that the floor elevation of the cabana, the underside of the cabana should be the 2 feet, not the finished floor. So
Yep.
just change that and be aware of that. The other question was just make sure that all pervious and impervious is captured in your stormwater.
Yeah, we've been working through that.
Correct.
Yep.
And the cabana is also being picked up by the stormwater
Yes.
system as well,
Correct.
right?
Yep.
And you have the stormwater outside of the floodplain in the
Yeah.
front yard, which
Okay,
is
in the
also
front.
a requirement. So, they're making revisions as they're
Yeah,
doing
no,
it,
no.
so they're
No, I
making some progress here.
Yeah. There's one issue that I believe you raised, Mike, concerning the pool in the event of a storm event, that there could be a lot of silt, dirt, whatever deposited into the pool, which obviously could be maybe not so great for the owner. I mean, how, is that sort of anticipated as a matter of course? Is there a way of engineering around, to mitigate that? What's your view?
So the pool itself is raised. There are pre-treatment structures prior to entering the Coltex or the infiltration chambers, which does have a deep sump at the bottom. So most likely that will filter out any sediment that finds its way into the outlet
So it'll
pipes.
be sort of filtered through the pool itself.
The
You're
issue is that the elevation of the pool is 1 foot above the base flood elevation, roughly, okay? And we all know that during storms, your peak flows can vary, your peak intensities can vary, so that 136 could become 137 for a matter of half an hour, 15 minutes until your flows alter. So one of the concerns I have is that, yes, it's 1 foot above the flood elevation, but what if? What if we do get an Ida, which was a 500-year event, where this pool then would be within that 500-year floodplain and will get inundated by silt and sediment? So I just, I don't want to be on the other end of a phone call in 3 years answering
Yeah,
that.
so
So I just want that to be made clear that
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
understood.
So we have the channel drains around the pool itself to collect any sediment, and any runoff. So that sediment that you're talking about is going to end up in that collector, that trench. Sorry, that slot drain around the pool. We can size the pipes for a higher intensity storm that will not have those pipes filled up and inundated. And like I said, we can, those pipes are going to concrete structures before they enter into it. So we can size the pipes a little bit bigger to kind of offset that and, not have the pipes so filled up during higher intensity storms.
And with respect to, the microphone is important. With respect to maintenance of the pool once it is installed, the applicant is working with a pool contractor now, and will have an ongoing relationship with somebody that could service or maintain the pool as needed. Obviously, nobody wants to have silt and other deposits within their pool structure, but that would be something that would be, within the applicant's control after the structure was installed.
Well, I mean, one of the issues, raised that Mike has brought to my attention is, who's going to get the nasty phone call about this? And certainly, with your applicant, he's going to make sure that there's proper maintenance of the various structures so that, if something happens, everything is working the way they work. But, down the line, he may not be the owner at some point. Someone else may be the owner and may not be privy to all of these discussions we've had about maintenance and things like that. And I don't think the village wants to be on the hook, even in theory, to a homeowner that ends up having a lot of problems, really through, it may be their own fault, but, we do not want to be accused of misengineering or mishandling things or being negligent in in, reviewing the project, and then this sort of thing happens, and then everyone has to scoot back to look at the record to find out exactly what happened. And I think that's, not an inconceivable thing that happens in the village.
Understood.
How is that any
I think that,
different?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish.
I think that our engineering team is doing a very good job at trying to alleviate any of these issues before they happen. That being said, if the applicant were to sell his home in the future to another homeowner, all of the documents that we have submitted as part of the record today would be available to that applicant in a title search to understand what conditions were placed on the approval, what engineering went into the approval. He would have that information at his disposal and would take title to the property subject to any conditions and all of these discussions, essentially.
Michael, how is that any different than a basement down the road flush? I don't see relevance to that issue at all.
Just making it clear, making it known for discussion purposes.
Okay, fine, but
If this were a new structure that was being built, it would be built 2 feet above the floodplain. So, the structure would be built completely differently. Okay? So I'm just bringing where they have a 1-foot barrier between those elevations. We can't control Mother Nature, so I just wanted to be aware, made known that this may happen.
But I
That's
think
all.
this is the responsibility of the design engineer that's sealing the drawings rather than the village.
That is correct, and that's why I'm just raising the question for the consultant to answer, and
Okay, fair,
correct.
fair.
Raising the pool itself is not out of the question. I mean, we do have, it can work with the grade that we have there. We're already 1 foot above. Raising another foot's not going to kill
If
the
they were to
design.
raise the pool 1 foot, would that present any water runoff or any other environmental issues or code issues? No?
No
I just
different
think it's
than
more
right
like being
now.
more comfortable with what's out there.
Yeah, we've all been working behind the scenes, so we're going to continue working behind the scenes. We're going to set up a meeting for next week. We're going to nail down a few of these items, and we'll see what the applicant wants to do. If they choose to raise the pool, they choose to raise the pool. If they choose not to, listen, we discussed it, it's been noted, we move on.
I mean, a lot of this is engineering. I mean,
Yeah.
if it can work.
I
it can
don't
work.
think it's a village liability in
Yeah.
my mind, yeah.
The wetland disturbance, who can speak to that?
Yes, we do have one other expert with
Okay.
us tonight to discuss one.
Yeah, this is a
Discuss the
topic,
wetland
this
issue.
is a topic we really didn't get into last time.
Sure.
But because we have a 2-to-1 mitigation rule, and
Yes.
because our board rules, if you reviewed them, only allows, 50% of that mitigation off-site.
Yes, so was there anything else you wanted to share with the board before we move on?
No, sorry, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut your presentation
no,
short. I
no
just wanted
worries.
to make sure the right people were
Sure.
here to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll turn the podium over in just a second. I just wanted to note that, yes, we received those comments. Yes, we are looking into ways that we could potentially modify some impervious or disturbance areas on the property. Based on a quick review of the code, and I do understand that some portion of the mitigation can happen off-site. It does seem like there is room for enhancement or restoration in multiple ways of the wetland buffer areas, right? It talks about enhancement or restoration of existing wetland and watercourse buffers by improving the density and diversity of native plant species, and then it says or enhancement or restoration of existing wetlands to mitigate for losses to those buffers by a ratio of at least 2-to-1.
Right, well, how much of a disturbance are we talking about?
We have, well,
Can't remember.
I think are we making changes to that number? We,
So in the course of actually revising the site plan and what we're doing with with the whole property. We've reduced the disturbance within the buffer significantly with the new version of plans, and we'll share that with the board and with your consultants as we move forward, but it's significantly less than what we've shown before. So I think we're at about 5,000 right now, but I'm trying to work around to see if we can get that down a little
That's a
more.
lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yes.
So, okay, keep working at it. That's good.
Okay, so I'll turn this over now so you can get a little more detail about what we're currently proposing for wetland mitigation, and then obviously to be revised as we further refine the plans.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. Eliana Besserell with William Kenny Associates, the landscape designer on the project. So, as you may know, there is an off-site pond and stream on the neighboring property immediately west of the property, and therefore there's a 100-foot wetland buffer area, and most of these improvements lie within that buffer area. So, to determine the amount of plantings we needed to specify, and in order to comply with the 2-to-1 mitigation ratio, we are proposing about 5,400 square feet of planting, and that includes evergreen trees, shrubs. So, to give some numbers, 17 evergreen trees to provide screening for the pool area and patio area, 1 flowering tree, about 100 shrubs, and around 1,000 perennials and ground covers, and they are all native and conducive to wetland habitat. Now we understand that that mitigation ratio needs to be based on disturbance. We used the total new impervious coverage. Yes, we used the total new impervious coverage square footage to determine the amount of plantings we need to specify, and that number currently is at 2,600 square feet of new impervious coverage on the property. However, we will need to revisit those numbers to make sure that includes disturbance, so grading, just disturbance within that wetland buffer area, so that number will likely need to increase of plantings. It's already a pretty substantial buffer. It's covering most of the western property boundary up until the edge of the house, the facade of the house, and stretching all the way towards the back of the property.
What types of species do you plan to, or do you foresee going in there?
So currently we have proposed eastern red cedars for the screening area. We have proposed a flowering dogwood in the rear of the property. They like a bit more shade, so we thought that would be a good option for that area. And for the shrubs, we have a mix of clethra or summer sweet, hydrangeas, viburnums, rhododendrons, a nice mix of diversity to support pollinators and enhance that habitat area. And then the perennials are a mix of yarrow, coneflower, phlox, and switchgrass, which provide, food and cover for pollinators.
Sarah, you have a chance to review. I know it's sort of like a moving target, but what's your assessment of what the level of disturbance is?
Yeah, it is the level of disturbance. So we were basing it off, I guess the level of disturbance hadn't been amended on the latest set of plans. So we were at a much higher number for our wetland mitigation plantings that were required. The area has not been quantified on the plan, so we will need to see that, but it sounds like the applicant is aware of our comments and the things that we will need to see on the next set of plans.
Also, just in designing the restoration, please take into account the floodway and landscaping within that floodway, not to prohibit or restrict the flow of water and block anything with the debris being caught in shrubs or bushes, because that's just one concern I have, is that now if we start changing the drainage pattern because landscaping is bermed up, because people love to put 3 feet of mulch on everything and volcano mulch, that now we're going to change the flood patterns. So just be mindful within that 136 contour, maybe try to work with that and keep that open possibly. All right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Any other comments from the board? Anything?
Why are you looking at me like that?
No, I'm just listening. I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the model.
Oh, okay.
You just happen to be on my line of sight. I'm in love with the model.
Yeah. Well, look at it. It sounds like you guys are working with our guys and that
Yes.
things are really moving forward on it, which is really good. I don't think we're quite ready for a public hearing yet. I don't want to put you in that sort of situation. So, what I'd like is to make sure that the engineering comments are addressed so that our engineers are on the same page as you as far as addressing a lot of these issues. These are very serious issues, and what I don't want to have happen is, members of the public are going to show up. I don't know whether you received a letter. We already got a letter.
We
from
did, yes.
someone. They can show up in force in these meetings, and so I want to be able to anticipate what their concerns are going to be, and so I want sort of a plan that is going to be set, that has been vetted, where we can confidently make representations regarding what we think the results of the engineering is going to be. So,
We understand the concern, and we understand, of course, that members of the public will come out to speak on this application. Respectfully, we have been working closely and have very open lines of communication with the village staff, and we think we'll be prepared to present a plan at that April meeting that is compliant with the engineering concerns and the planning concerns. We would respectfully request that the board schedule the public hearing for that April date, and of course, if we're not able to meet those targets, we would request an adjournment at that time.
Okay.
We're hopeful, we are
I'm
confident
happy-
that we
it's-
can
it's
get
to-
there.
I think it's totally up to you, and I think it's reasonable for staff to work through everything, which I think it is. We can schedule a public hearing. Is there any concern about that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, then let's
Before we
schedule.
go,
Yeah, go ahead.
Michael, maybe an unfair question, but at the end of the day, even though Ms. Zalin stressed at the beginning that the project is code compliance, my simple question at the very end would be, when it's all said and done, would the flooding, the area is potential, it has a potential flooding issues. Would this project in any way make the situation worse?
So that is the calculations that AI Engineering is reviewing. And right now, Hudson has provided documentation that shows, was it 1 cubic foot of reduction?
There's
I'm sorry, 1 cubic feet of increase in capacity. So in theory, there's no net increase in the flood elevations or rise of water. So basically, there's no net change to the flooding.
Because when we say code compliance, usually, the architect, applicants look at the bulk standards in the code.
Correct.
Not necessarily the final results with regard to the water runoff and the flooding issues. And we as a board need to be concerned with that at the end of the day. Just because you may be code compliant, if it's going to make the matter worse, something needs to be done.
Correct. And this plan was referred to FEMA to review.
I read the memo.
And
yes.
they will get the next revision of this as well to review once the calcs are done and we have that nailed down. They're going to get that as well.
Because one way to solve the problem is you basically don't develop anything in the wetland area. I mean,
In the floodplain.
in the
area.
floodplain, yes.
Correct, and that's
yes.
why the applicant
Yes.
came back with this revised plan, because we've all talked 2-3 times a week
Mm-hmm.
over the last couple of weeks, and they've made substantial improvements to moving stuff out of that buffer. There's a slight little area here in the corner that maybe is in theory within it, but it's just maybe a foot or two of the patio area, which isn't going to change anything. But overall, they've made significant strides in moving things back and away from that 168 contour.
I think the letter that I read this afternoon from Ms. Olin, the neighbor, I think it's something we need to consider that, those comments that she has provided.
I didn't see that memo. I saw there is a memo. I didn't read it,
It's a
but
very
yes, I will
well-written memo.
review it.
Apparently, person knows what they're talking about, and I think we need to look at that.
We did receive that comment letter. The stormwater and runoff concerns that she has
Yes,
expressed are things that our engineering team is working to address already.
That's all I'm asking, yes. And of course, don't forget the lighting, but that you can
Yeah, that-
resolve much
yeah,
easier.
I'm not
Yes.
sure about
That
that.
you can resolve much
Yeah.
easier.
We
Jim
can
has
certainly
been-
discuss the lighting comments that she provided.
Yeah, I had some questions about that.
Sure.
Because I think that any exterior lighting that is excessive on anybody's property should be downlit.
Understood.
It's, no matter what you do, you can't prevent lights
Yes.
that are not downlit
So-
from disrupting. It is an environmental factor that I also think should be addressed.
We did discuss these comments with the applicant. He is open to installing shielded light at these outdoor facilities. He did express that the one photo that was taken showed a light shining in his attic window, and he was saying, "I can't have lights on in my house." Is this what
It's a
we're?
different story, but exterior lights should be downlit.
Yes, the applicant is open to installing.
I'm not sure the picture did it justice. I wasn't altogether clear on the
I
picture.
don't know what time of
But I think
day
the
it
sentiment
was.
is
Understood.
credited.
We are listening.
Have you found that FEMA is slowed down a bit because of the section of DHS that isn't moving? That would be my only concern for a public hearing in April and getting all your stuff in, because if they're still not functioning, that's going to be a problem.
I think we can work towards designing a plan that was in compliance, that takes into account their first round of comments. And if we do not have their final say by that April date, we would be open to keeping the public hearing open or closing the public hearing and waiting for a decision at a future meeting if it's only, engineering
I think
pieces to
you
work
have
out.
to schedule the public hearing because there may be comment from the public that we are unaware of it and gives
Yeah.
us a chance to address it.
It can
So I
be-
would,
it-
I would recommend we
Yeah.
schedule the public
It can be
hearing.
very helpful, actually,
Sure.
the whole process. So, okay, I think, Sarah, you have a public hearing resolution for us?
I do. Where application has been made for approval of a site plan and wetlands permit involving an addition to the existing home and the construction of an in-ground pool, deck, patio, and cabana on the property located at 15 Lock Lane. Now therefore be it resolved, the Planning Board of the Village of Rybrook will hold a public hearing on April 9, 2026 at 6:30 in Village Hall. Be it further resolved that the applicant is hereby directed to comply with Section 250-40 of the Village Code regarding notification of the public hearing.
Okay, can I have a motion,
moved.
motion a second?
Moved.
Second.
Mr. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes,
Ms. Schoen,
Yes.
Mr. Vaisman,
Yes.
Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll see you
Thank
next
you all
month.
for your time. We will see you in April.
Yep, thank you. Okay, our,
Yeah, I was looking on the
I was looking at Google Maps too.
is that
It's-
south?
It's where Orchard,
Yeah,
Orchard Paddock Road. It's in
yes,
that-
okay,
that area. It's a little,
it's in that, yes,
It's about 3 houses long.
yeah.
yeah.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. I'm Andy Chung, AC Engineering. I'm the engineer for the homeowner, Eva Cameron Wallace at 3 Crossway. With me is Justin Beneri. He's the project architect. I apologize, I don't have a cool model to show. I just have a poster board. But I think...
We use the maps, it's okay.
Yeah. I think this should be pretty simple, I hope. Really not much as far as engineering goes. What we're doing, 3 Crossway is a 15,800 square foot lot with an existing 1,889 square foot house. And the plan really is to enlarge the house with a second floor addition, a 2-story addition, expanding the driveway a little bit, rebuilding the deck. So really, the engineering aspects of it is, just based on the town code for a site plan approval, showing the staging area, construction areas, material storage, a lot of the soil erosion and sediment control measures. Here's our proposed plan. And then
basically all of our soil erosion sediment control measures, tree protection details, silt fence details, things of that nature, concrete cleanouts. So that's basically it for the engineering aspect of it. The house is, runs, it's town water, it's town gas, and last year, we converted it from a septic to a town sewer. So that is all done. Justin's gonna discuss the architect aspect of it, unless anybody have any engineering questions for me.
Well, the impervious surface, the extra impervious surface coverage, I guess Mike is, you there?
Went out.
Stepped
Oh,
out.
he stepped out. How much additional impervious surface is created by the project?
So there wasn't any stormwater. It was like an extra 300 square feet
So
or something like that.
it didn't hit the 400 square foot
Yeah.
requirement?
Yeah.
All right.
82 or something
Yeah,
like
it was
that.
like,
Okay.
it was under the
So it's
400
mainly,
square
so it's
feet.
mainly what, the height of the house for the most part? You're adding a second story?
Correct.
All right.
Yeah, I can address that.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I didn't, yeah, I want to,
Yeah, because I know there are some zoning issues
Oh,
relating to
absolutely.
this, and,
yes.
yeah.
Good evening, my name is Justin Maneri, I'm the architect, and Cameron Wallace, the homeowner, is in the audience, sitting in front row. And before I describe what we're proposing, just want to show the house. The brick 1.5-story home with the dormers is the actual house, 3 crossways, you can see, and you can see the neighboring homes. And this is the backyard, so you can see the homes butting up to the rear. And I'll, and then in the rear, as you can see, this is the rear of the house, so the topography, the ground pitches towards the back. What appears to be a 1-story, 1.5-story in front gets taller in the rear. And as you can see, there's a nice distance separation in the rear. This is the view from the deck, as you can see. So there is some nice distances to the neighboring properties. So, and I want to, yeah. So I'll briefly describe what we're proposing. Yes. Is this mic? No.
I'll give you this one.
Yeah.
It's easier, I got it, I need to move around. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just hold it close.
So, before I describe the variances, let me just describe what we're proposing. So as you can see in the site plan, we're proposing to remove the 1-story garage in the photographs, and we're replacing it with a garage essentially within 1 inch or 2 of the existing footprint. But we're pulling it forward. The garage portion is in compliance in front yard setback. And we're replacing, and the addition extends a little beyond the back of the house. And we're replacing the existing wood deck with a new wood deck, approximately the same depth, but wider. So, and just skip this, we'll circle back to that. So, so this is essentially what we're adding along the side of the house. We're not touching anything on the existing footprint, and we're adding a wood deck in the rear. We're putting a small front porch that doesn't go beyond the front, but that triggers a variance because the front corner is non-compliant. Because of the angle of the property, the garage is still in compliance, so it meets the 40-foot front yard setback.
So is it in non-conforming now, or is?
Yes,
is
partially,
my-
yes.
okay.
So if I go to the site plan, the front corner is 35 feet, .7, and 40 is required. So as we go, you can see the angle, it's not parallel with the front of the house. So as we go to the garage, we're good. And because we're not going any further, technically, we're still non-compliant with the porch, but it's actually better than the existing corner because of the angle of the property. So that gets us into that. So
what we're essentially doing, and I won't get into the layout because, you know, I don't know if the board is interested in the architectural, but I just want to get to the front elevation so you can see. So this is the existing front elevation. So that was shown in the picture. The bottom is brick, but you can see that. So what we're essentially doing, not over the entire house, this center section, we're expanding the current second floor to get more space. It's a young, growing family. They need additional space in the second floor bedrooms. And then the garage here is kind of useless. It's small. So what we're doing is just pulling it forward and adding more bedroom space above. So when we run afoul, we're looking at 5 variances. And, you know, I know it's not the zoning board, but we need one for FAR, because the permitted is 3322. We're at 4116, so we're over by 794 square feet. The other area where we have a little problem, as I explained, is this front porch. It's a very small, and we're not going past, so we need 1.4 feet for this corner. The other area is not, actually we comply with the minimum side yard, but in the total, we do not. The existing is not conforming, so the proposed is within 0.2 feet, so it's like a couple of inches. And again, that might be because we squared it and, you know, we couldn't actually pull back and match it exactly. So we're essentially the same width. We're not encroaching the front as much, except for the porch, only because of the angle. And then the other 2 variances we need is the height setback ratio. Whenever you have a slow piece of property, it works against you because the average grade gets dropped, right? So now I'll go back to the height setback ratio so you can get an understanding why we have 5 variances, because 2 of them are unavoidable. Let me see. All right. So you can see the proposed elevations, and as you can see with the front, we're over the front yard setback. The proposed ratio is, no, it's right here, I'm sorry. It's on this corner, so the proposed ratio is 0.70 and the code is 0.60, so we're slightly over here. And on the side, because of the grade coming down, it lowers the average grade, which then, you know, penalizes us with the setback. So I tried to change the direction of the roof, and here I'm over by 0.03, so it's very slight. And here we're fine. I mean, well, this is existing, so it's not conforming existing. So we need 2 variances on the slope. Now, a lot of people try to mitigate the front. I'm trying to avoid to create homes throughout Rybrook where you have the truncated, clipped pitch. You've seen them, right? You got the peaks, and all of a sudden it gets chopped up in the peak, and that's because to comply with this, I'm trying to avoid to doing that because otherwise you end up too many homes with clipped corners, clipped peaks. I should say.
That side setback ratio.
Yes.
If you were building the same side house from the beginning and not using the existing footprint, would you be dealing with the same issue?
Oh, no. Well,
would you have enough room to move the house
tight.
to
But as you
avoid
can
that?
see, it's so small, it's tight. So if I want to point out, this house is only 8-foot ceilings on both floors. We're not like, creating a tall ceiling. So this is a minimum ceiling height. And the roof pitch is going away, and we're just clipping it. For us to avoid that, I would probably have to cut back the house a little bit. It's almost so
I'm
small.
trying to plead your case before the zone.
I know.
it's so small, I think I can argue that. It's
You
probably
use zero
0.3.
footprint, but-
And I'm being very honest. I mean, I could have fudged it and nobody would know. I mean, how would you measure that? But in reality, it's so slightly, and it's due because the average grade drops. You know, so technically, that height setback ratio is only egregious because of the side yard and midpoint. From street appearance, we would be compliant if you drew the angle from that front grade. So from a streetscape, there's nothing outstanding tall about that, but we get penalized because of the average grade, and that's how, you know, it works out, these height setback ratio. If it was a flat lot, those are two,
Well, you put in the second story to the house, of course it's gonna work
yeah,
against.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm saying if it's a flat lot, 2 stories, it wouldn't be an issue, but because of the grade drop, but that's, we're not gonna fill the 6 feet of, So,
And what's adding 700-800 feet to your gross floor area?
That's the second floor.
that's the second
Second
floor.
floor,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So,
Exclusively second floor, the additional.
yeah, I mean, partially because the garage, but it's, the majority is the second floor, and we didn't go over the entire house. We kept it here, We try to
Michael,
minimize it.
Is
just-
that kind of in effect penalizing the applicant twice for the same sin?
What, the setback?
The setback
Because of
and the gross floor area ratio.
like the word penalize.
It's either one or the other. You shouldn't penalize them
I
twice.
don't like the word penalized. These are code numbers, and these are code and zoning regulations that are in place for a reason.
Yeah, well, I mean.
You have a home that's being built, it's a big house, and it's on a weird lot, and you have slope, and the code takes this into account.
If we're building a brand-new house, I agree with it. But when you're trying to retrofit using the existing footprint, sometimes I think hopefully there would be some leeways in the areas like that.
Code is code, we follow the code, I understand what you're saying.
Well, that's why we have a zoning board
Well,
of
I mean,
appeals
I-
where they look at, yes,
Yeah,
exactly, yes.
I mean, look, what we've tried to do, we refer things to the zoning board, but if we think that there could be problems at the zoning board, our question to the applicant is there anything that you can do to mitigate the variances so that when you get to the zoning board,
Right.
you don't run into a problem
Sure.
with them? And I guess my very superficial review of this was that this was a pretty big house that was going to be built there in a very tight neighborhood. And my concern really was how this was going to be viewed by neighbors. And height setback ratios are, height.
Yeah.
And with an angle.
Right.
So if you're a neighbor and you see something, it may not be 100 feet tall, but if it's at a particular angle, it could look like 100 feet tall.
Right.
And that's sort of like my personal concern with the
No, I
project.
understand.
But that was just a superficial review, so make me feel better about.
Well, but here's the thing with the height setback ratio, and I'll make you feel better. The way it's written, it's only happening at the peak of one sliver of the house. It's not as if you have a 3-story wall across and you're violating it, right?
Right.
If I took a knife and I cut this peak, I'm compliant. Does that change the size of the house? It makes it a little uglier, but then I can
I see.
comply.
So you're saying only one portion
It's right at this
is
peak.
right at
Yeah.
the peak.
Absolutely.
That's what's non-compliant.
Because if you go to the other side,
Right.
where we're putting the second floor addition, I'm way compliant.
Yeah.
Here it is, and this is code. Where I'm getting impact is the point. So from a characteristic of a neighborhood, I don't think everyone's gonna drive by, you look at a Tudor house, what gives it the character is the peak, right? You don't look at it and says, well, it's a massive house. You got a steep peak. And this is not even a steep peak by any architectural term, because this peak is really matching the existing peak, but it's now elevated. So, yeah, I could easily have gotten rid of that, but then aesthetically, is it really beneficial to the neighborhood? And that's the argument I'm gonna make to the zoning board,
Why can't you drop the pitch of the roof to get
No,
that number down?
No, from the front, look how low it'll be. It'll be hideous. It'll look like a shed.
I'm 6'5".
Yeah, and that's the only, I don't think. So Mike, if I took this and I took it across here,
Yeah,
that would look horrible.
it would. You're right.
No, I know. So we have to, that's why we have boards, right? We have to balance those things. The code is black and white, and we're humans. We live in a very colorful world. There's grays and different colors. So we have to look at it in the totality of the neighborhood and the architecture and all that. So it's that simple.
But this was my question to you.
Yes.
From the very beginning, because you are using the existing footprint, and somehow you just cannot avoid that.
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
Right, I'll see.
Well, I can make it a flat roof and we can,
No,
yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
come
but,
on,
you
yeah.
know.
I mean, you want to be aesthetically pleasing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then I have to deal with the architecture review board is like, why
That's
did you
right.
do this
That's
and that?
right.
You know, and then in the end, you drive down the street, you judge a neighborhood by the aesthetics of the homes. You don't say, oh, wow, that looks like a foot taller. I mean, could anyone even assess that?
I frankly, from just looking at that, I don't believe that that's a major issue. Personally, I really don't.
And that's why I like to go.
But
before
I'm not the
zone-
zoning board.
Yeah, and that's why I like to go to zoning board in my case, and I think,
Well, we'll refer you to the zoning board.
great.
And I guess the question is, should we also set a public hearing? When does the zoning board meet next month?
April 1st, I
Okay,
believe, right?
Because
No?
we meet on
Is it
the
April
second
1st?
Thursday.
Their
meet on
meetings
the-
are
No.
the first Tuesday of each month, but the submission deadline, yes, but the
Tuesday.
submission deadline for that meeting is the first of the month.
So would we get a determination from the zoning board before our meeting? We would.
I think, yeah, you
All right.
should, yeah.
But then we
So-
might as well schedule a
Yeah,
public
yeah.
hearing on this.
Tomorrow I'm gonna,
Next month.
she said,
For May?
yeah. And if they weren't referring, I would pull it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, May.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm dropping it off.
Maybe.
Okay.
She said it's okay,
Okay, so,
So it could be next month.
yes.
yes.
Okay,
Yep.
because we would want the zoning board's determination before we
Absolutely.
open
Yeah.
up the public hearing here, so.
No, that's,
I like my day in court.
You're entitled to your day in court.
Get it?
Right.
Get it? We do not deny days in court.
one thing I'll just mention about the referral resolution, it has 4 variances, not 5. So the front yard setback variance was not one that was identified by the building inspector in his zoning analysis and was notice of disapproval. So, no, so what we'll do is we can adopt the referral resolution with reference to those 4 variances, but the resolution also says, in addition to whatever other additional variances the building inspector may deem to be necessary, we'll ask him to take a look at that
Right.
and double check whether a front yard
From the
setback
planning
variance is
board
needed.
perspective, how significant are these variances?
So that's for us.
I'm not going to assess that. That'll be up for the
No,
zoning
I'm
board
saying
to
sometimes
assess, yeah.
There are planning issue that, the variance is either work for it or against it, but in this case, I think it's almost neutral from the planning perspective.
Yeah.
So to that point, your referral resolutions to the zoning board will typically have in them any planning considerations you want to pass along to the zoning board as a note.
That was my question, and I don't know what planning,
Yeah, so the resolution right now says that the applicant should explore opportunities to revise the design to reduce the size and magnitude of the requested variances. If you don't agree with that, we can strike that. If you have some other comment that you want to give to the zoning board, we can put that in there, or just leave it blank with no comments one way or another as to planning. We want to be careful, though, we're not impinging upon the zoning board's jurisdiction, right? That it'll be up to them, but if there's any planning-related items you want them to know,
Look,
we can
there
relay
may
that
be
to
some that occurred to us at the time that, there may be some that occurred to us at the time, and also planning considerations means a public hearing, so members of the public are going to be able to show up and complain about things, or praise things. And so we're going to find out more about, because my concern is, it's a tight neighborhood, there are a lot of houses around. When I was Google earthing you guys, you were here, there are houses here, houses there, houses in back of
Sure.
you. And so if I were a neighbor, I would simply be concerned about, well, how is this going to impact my view of things?
Well,
or
the
is there
one
not?
nice thing about that area, if I showed in the photos, I'll show again, there are no houses lined up parallel with the rear. They're sort of off
Angles.
So what's nice, and if I'll show it to you.
Aesthetically,
I
that
took that
helps you a
photo
lot.
purposely because, some neighborhoods you're back to back. You look
Right,
into
right,
the,
you're seeing the
window.
guy's
As you can
porch.
see in the
Right.
rear, that's
Shouldn't
not
be-
the
Shouldn't
case.
be a problem.
Yeah,
And so, and that's also part of the argument, that goes beyond the black and white, So as you can see, when you look out the deck, those homes are looking,
more catty corner.
yeah, it's a situation when you have a house here and people complain, I'm looking into your window. It's not the case here, which is nice. So again, this is, that's why I like the day in court to make my case that,
Okay.
the views, it's not going to impinge on anyone's privacy.
No, however, houses on Paddock and other roads are gonna see this back side of the house and see 3 stories plus a roof line. So they're gonna see a massive structure in the back.
A very
Just be
attractive,
aware.
a very attractive structure.
Well, but
That's up
that's
to
sort of
the
like.
eye of the
But that's sort of like, the
Yeah,
issue.
of course,
I mean, if you don't want to go out in your backyard and,
No, I
look
understand,
up at
yeah.
this thing. So,
Well,
and it's not something that, like, screening would help, because you're
Yeah.
talking really about the height of something.
it's a
which is-
walkout basement, we're kind
Right.
of,
Right,
all right, there you go, yeah.
right.
As you stand in the backyard, anyway, you're welcome over and you look up. At the moment, it looks big.
That's what it looks like.
This is like a third story,
I
second
see.
story line there.
Right.
So it already is.
It already is sort of like.
Yeah, so,
Putting a roof on, so it doesn't-
yeah, this is just going up high and we have a peak on, over here,
Right, got
So,
it. Yeah, okay. All right.
it's, again, it's the, what happens when you have a downslope lot,
Right, got it. Okay, so do we have a public hearing resolution and a referral resolution? I guess we do the referral first.
And just to be clear, we want to strike the planning consideration
Yeah,
comments.
we'll just let
Yep.
the plan, we'll
No
let
worries.
the zoning board do its thing.
Resolution referring an application for a site plan approval for 3 Crossway to the Village of Rybrook Zoning Board of Appeals. Whereas the Village of Rybrook has received a site plan application for property located at 3 Crossway, whereas the Planning Board is the approval authority for the application pursuant to the Village Code. Whereas on March 12th, 2026, the Planning Board classified the proposed action as Type 2 pursuant to SECRA. Whereas the building inspector's revised notice of disapproval dated March 9th identifies 4 variances being necessary for the proposed site plan, those being front height setback ratio, side height setback ratio, side yard setback, total of 2, and gross floor area. Whereas the planning board reviewed the application at its March 12th meeting, and whereas the planning board believes that the area variances requested by the applicant should be reviewed by the zoning board for determination prior to any further review by the planning board. Now therefore be it resolved, the planning board hereby refers the application to the zoning board of appeals for a determination on the requested variances, along with any additional variances deemed necessary by the building inspector prior to the planning board taking any further action on the application.
I forget, do we need to adopt and then agree, and then have a motion to transmit, or can we do it all in one? All in one, all right. Okay. Can I have a motion in a second to approve the referral?
Second.
Mr. Branch,
Yes.
Mr. Grzan,
Yes.
Michonne,
Yes.
Mr. Vaceman.
Yes.
Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, we have to schedule
I'm
the
sorry.
public hearing.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I thought we were doing it all at once. Sorry. Apologize.
Whereas application has been made for approval of a site plan involving a 2-story addition, a second-floor addition, a new front porch, and a new rear deck, and associated site improvements on the property located at 3 Crossway. Now therefore be resolved, the Planning Board of the Village of Rybrook will hold a public hearing on April 9th, 2026 at 6:30 in Village Hall. Be it further resolved that the applicant is hereby directed to comply with Section 250-40 of the Village Code regarding notification of the public hearing.
Moved.
Second.
That's what I'm talking about.
Here we go.
Mr. Branch?
Yes.
Mr. Grzan?
Yes.
Ms. Schoen?
Yes.
Mr. Vacy?
Yes.
Chairman Goodman?
Yes. Okay, we'll see you gentlemen next month.
Thank you.
Now, thank you very much.
Good luck before the ZBA.
You too.
Okay, our last item is 900 King Street.
Jennifer, that was a beautiful summary.
Oh, yeah. Looks
I
like it
didn't
could
even
be.
think we need a meeting after that summary.
There's a good sense of humor about all
Yes,
this.
it was very well written.
It's hard for homeowners to fathom this entire
I read
system.
that without realizing who wrote it. And then I said, let's go. Along the way, I realized that must have been you. It was very
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Vincent Pedone with the law firm of Zarin and Steinmetz, here tonight on behalf of Sunrise Senior Living in connection with their proposed senior living facility at 900 King Street. Here with me tonight is Anthony Nestor from JMC Engineering, our project engineers, and we do apologize that the whole team couldn't be here tonight, but they will be the next time we are here. Just for a little bit of background, Sunrise's original PUD site plan was approved by your board in June of 2021, and then in June 2025, your board approved the amended PUD site plan. Since June 2025, the team has made some minor changes to the project's design to improve the functionality of the project, and we are here tonight to kick off discussions related to those changes, as well as to provide a overview of those changes. It should be noted that nothing is being changed with respect to unit count, bed count, height, square footage. These are just some minor engineering and architectural details. We did recently appear at the ARB on March 4th. We had a productive discussion with them. They gave us some favorable feedback, and they referred us over to your board. So we are here tonight asking that you refer the project over to Westchester County Planning and also to the Board of Trustees for SECRA lead agency purposes. We also respectfully request that you set the public hearing for April 9th, where we will give a much more extensive, detailed presentation with the rest of our team. And I will now hand it over to Anthony to walk through a high-level review of the changes, and just keep in mind that when the architect and when we come back in April with the rest of the team, we will go into much more detail.
Vincent, I didn't have a chance to look the minutes of that last year's meeting when we approved but if I'm not mistaken, I may have made a comment. I hope I see you next time, and you're going to tell me we started the demolition.
Yes, there was a similar comment made. The applicant is eager to start construction, but as we inch closer to finalizing the design, a few things came up, and we do believe that these changes will improve the functionality, like I mentioned, and Anthony will walk through a few of them now.
And just for clarity, the applicant did file for a demolition permit before the new year, so that
Jennifer
is
made
in
that,
process.
I read that comment in Jennifer's memo,
Yeah.
which was very nice to hear.
I appreciate that you didn't go on and just consider them field changes and just do it, because that's what happens sometimes, right?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board,
Anthony,
staff,
you're going to have to speak up.
members of the staff. I didn't want to get too much feedback. My name is Anthony Nestor with the firm of JMC. As Mr. Bodone mentioned, we are the site civil engineers for the project. And what I'm here tonight to do is just to walk you through at a high level of these changes that were developed in finalizing the plans for construction, so we can get this project moving along. And to your point, Chairman, we didn't feel it was right to do these changes, without letting anybody know. So, we met with staff early on. We tried to do it early on with regards to these changes. Here we are. So we just want to keep on moving. Again, I'm going to just start, zoom in highly, and I do apologize. I do not have any of the architectural renderings or changes or boards that were discussed at the ARB meeting, so I could give you a very high level, of where they are and some of the things that were discussed at that meeting. And I just want to zoom in here so I can give you a pretty much heads in here. Okay. So one of the things, and I'm not going to do anything justice with regards to all the things that were discussed at the ARB meeting, but I can assure you that the building height has not changed, square footage of the building has not changed, the overall design of the building and the intent of the design of the building has not changed. It's just details as they go through, like, for example, windows and how many windows are in a row, whether they're double, single, how high. So there were a lot of things like that discussed. But some of the things I do know, there were two, for lack of a better term, awnings that are being proposed within the courtyards. So there's one in the IL courtyard, which is in between the H's, I'll call it, in the back, that's above the garage. And then there's another, which was always shown as a dashed line on our plans and even on the previous architectural drawings. It was never shown up on the elevations. But there's another low awning or a roof over the, in the AL garden over in this area. So that was one of the changes that was added.
You're not talking about soft awnings, you're talking
No, I'm talking about a hard roof. Well, they called it an awning. I was trying to follow architecture.
Isn't that like an ARB issue?
It is, but it was a change, and I'm just trying to give you a high level.
I'm just articulate, I'm just,
Yep.
being expansive, but
Yep.
it's.
They just wanted to come back to us.
So one of the other things were on the main IL entrance here is the porte-cochere that comes over. It's still basically, a roof porte-cochere that covers, residents or anybody that wants to come in and drop off. But it was, the main structure was shifted further away from the building in this area here. Let's see here, and here. So in order to give more light and space up against those units that were in there. So that was another thing that was discussed or changed. And then really the other, I don't want to say big thing, but the other thing was too, is on all the balconies, where I guess the ARB had a split where there wasn't an all railing going the whole length of the balcony. It was half railing and then half like a wall or, a panel that was stone. So the proposal is to just make it all railing so that there's to bring more light and air circulation into all these balconies. And then there was on all of the AL units, which is on this side of the building, I guess going through mechanical and all other design, for ventilation, there was P-TEC units located in those units on the AL units. And then at the bottom of all the windows, there'll be the louvers for the P-TEC units themselves, but they're designed such a way that it matches the mullions and the shape of the windows, so it looks like it's part of the window. It doesn't just look like it's something on the bottom. And that's just some of the architectural changes. So now I'm just going to go through on the site aspect of things, and there's really two areas that we modified slightly, and one is to the townhome areas, which is the southwest portion of the site. And then what I did here is, you can see the modification to the locations of all these duplexes or the townhomes themselves are slight. But the biggest thing here is the ring road, we widened it out here. So we gave it a wider radius here in order to help with the grade change that occurs from the IL building looking, I'll say west for lack of better terms. Because right now, the change in elevation from the ring road to the back of these units here, 17 and 18, for the finished floor, had like a lot of the foundation wall exposed, it was like a retaining wall, and then it kind of stepped up the hill. So in making the road wider, we were able to grade it out such that we made the elevation change and the location of all the buildings more harmonious in line with it, so there wasn't huge, drops and things like that across the cross section. But that's basically the changes that are proposed to the townhouse area. And then I have another slide here just to show you too, with regards to the grading. So the proposed approved grading is underneath, and the revised grading is in red above, and it's very similar. So there's not much of, no elevation of any townhome was raised, so they were either at the elevation that was approved or below. So nothing was raised in height, finished floor-wise, not to impact any view shed from the arbors. And then there's an area that we call in the back of the house, which was reconfigured a little bit more to provide more greenery to this back of the area of the house in between here. And also to help with the functionality, I guess, of operational, like trash and things like that, which was more finalized and detailed as the project was being designed by all the consultants that came onto the project. So the best way I thought to show these changes were just to show what we're proposing is in red, and what was approved is in black. This area was the area where all the land bank parking spaces were allocated. So in this change, all the allocated 25 land bank parking spaces are still here. But what we did is to keep this area in the back of the house area opened, we took a lot of the this parking area that was here, and we kind of put the on-grade parking spaces on the ring road in the back of this building here, and then made this area available. There's 6 proposed land bank spaces here, and then over here is the remaining of some of the spaces, land bank spaces, and there's also land bank spaces on the other side of the ramp. But this is in an effort to try to bring more greenery to that back of the area. The other change was relocating the generators, the standby generators. They were proposed to be relocated on the Hutchinson River side of the ring road. And then this does 2 things. It helps with the sound attenuation, keeps them further away from the building, as well as gives us more an opportunity to screen them from any of the residences.
Help me with the orientation. Where is the arbor? So is that the Hutchinson?
Arbors is to the plan west.
Plan west. So
Plan
moving
left.
that generator location.
So here.
It's not any closer to any of the residences.
No. So here,
Okay.
I'll show you here.
Important. All right.
This is actually closer to Village Hall.
It's closer to
I was
Village
gonna
Hall.
say, yeah.
So
It's not going.
No,
Here-
yeah, the townhomes are on the arbor side.
Townhomes homes are on that side.
So here's the overall site
I
plan.
got you. Yes.
And so here's where we're proposing to move the generators. Here's where they were before. So we're actually moving them further away from the arbors.
Got you. All right.
And then lastly, I just wanted to mention there's 2 other couple of quick minor adjustments that were made. And it's more to the utilities, which would be underground, things like that. But we still wanted to make the village aware of that these were being changed. The first area, which is in red here, which is I'll call it the transition zone from the high-up building to the townhomes, is, my next slide blows it up a little bit so we can see it, is under the proposed conditions, the sewer ran where the dashed line is, which is right behind the townhomes here and in between this large underground subsurface stormwater area. And then as things were being developed, we still had a pipe. This is sanitary sewer, if I didn't say that, I'm sorry. But there was always a sewer pipe that ran through, I'll call it the townhouse loop. So it was really just this little connection here. And so we thought that was best to eliminate this separation and things like that between the stormwater management area, the townhomes, and the sewer. It does make I think this one manhole a little bit deeper than it was previously. It's by a couple of feet, which is still 17, 18 feet, which is at the highest, but everything else is pretty much as it was before. And then the other area is to the storm sewer. So, in designing and the structure of the building and things like that, they had determined that the garage elevation needed to be lowered in order to provide proper clearances within the garage with regards to piping and things like that. So in lowering the elevation of the garage, they didn't change any of the other finished floors. It was just the garage got lower. We needed to rethink where the runoff from these ramps that go down, the one in the back and the one in the front, needed to be dropped as well. So, which meant is we do have to have some kind of piping that goes underneath the garage slab in order to have the storm by gravity go from, I'll call it from the back to the front. And then, so that's what this green line represents. And in order, and just to provide extra protection from anything in the garage, we're proposing to have all this go through an oil water separator.
You're gonna have more excavation, more material movement on the site.
Or less, because it's, a lot of it, I think, isn't filled too because of the existing building. There's a balance there, but yes. And then really, those sum up the changes.
Mm-hmm. Significant.
Okay.
We
Well-
do need a public hearing for this, right?
Yeah, we do, we
Yeah.
do. We'll schedule it for next month, and we'll get you on your way, because we're very anxious for you to break ground, you guys.
So we do have a public hearing resolution, and we also combined it with the referrals to the Board of Trustees and County Planning.
Got it, okay.
So we'll need to go to Board of Trustees for secret review and County Planning.
Do we need separate motions for that, or? we can
No,
do
we've
all in one?
incorporated it all into one resolution.
Goody, all right. go
That
ahead.
was Jennifer's good thought to do that.
That's right. Thank you, Jen.
Saving us time. Where application has been made for approval of an amended PUD site plan and reaffirmation of the wetlands and steep slopes permit, which we should add, there's no changes to those permits.
Got it.
We're within all the disturbance that was previously approved. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board of the Village of Rybrook will hold a public hearing on April 9th, 2026 at 6:30 in Village Hall. Be it further resolved that the applicant is hereby directed to comply with Section 250-40 of the Village Code regarding notification of the public hearing. Be it further resolved that the Planning Board hereby refers the amended PUD site plan to the Board of Trustees for secret review. Be it further resolved that the Planning Board hereby refers the amended PUD site plan to Westchester County Planning in accordance with New York State General Municipal Law.
Okay, motion and second.
Motion. Move.
Second.
Mr. Branch.
Yes.
Mr. Grzan.
Yes.
Ms. Schoen.
Yes.
Mr. Weissman.
Yes.
Chairman Goodman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
See you next
Yep.
month.
See you in
Thank you
April.
for the presentation, guys. All right, that's it.
gonna happen if you want
Any-
here and there, and then it'll just show up, and then,
No, I lost the power.
huh? Oh,
No, no,
oh,
I used the, and this is not charging, I don't know.
huh?
About, I motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion.
Move,
Move,
second,
All,
third.
all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
no.
Thank you.
Not unless you want to sleep here, I guess.
Nice and-
Be the first time.
Yeah.